Claude Opus 4.6 just beat GPT-4 on every single coding benchmark by margins nobody expected.
Wait, every benchmark? Even the ones OpenAI specifically optimized for? So we're breaking down the new agent teams feature, the adaptive thinking, and how compaction actually works?
By minute 4, you'll know exactly which tasks to migrate first. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Platform Engineering Playbook Daily Podcast. Today's news and a deep dive to help you stay ahead in platform engineering.
Today, we're diving into Claude Opus 4.6.
Stick around to the end for today's headlines. Let's dive right in.
So let's talk about Claude Opus 4.6 and what this really means for the platform engineering space. Anthropic just dropped this massive update, and honestly, the numbers are kind of staggering. We're talking about a 144 ELO point improvement over GPT 5.2 on economically valuable tasks.
Wait, hold up. That's a huge jump. What are we actually looking at here in terms of capabilities?
Right, so Opus 4.6 is positioning itself as the new heavyweight champion for agentic coding tasks. They're claiming state-of-the-art performance on Terminal Bench 2.0, which is basically the gold standard for measuring how well these models can actually write and debug code autonomously. But here's what's really interesting. They've expanded the context window to 1 million tokens in beta.
1 million tokens? That's entire code bases we're talking about.
Exactly. And that's where this gets really interesting for platform teams. Think about what you could do with a model that can hold your entire infrastructure as code repository in context while making changes. We're not just talking about generating snippets anymore.
But here's what I'm wondering. Anthropic has always been the safety-first company, right? The whole constitutional AI thing. Does that create limitations that might hurt them in real-world platform engineering scenarios?
That's the million-dollar question. See, Anthropic was founded by former OpenAI researchers who left specifically because they wanted to take a different approach to AI safety. Dario and Daniela Omadai basically said, "We think there's a better way to build these systems that doesn't compromise on safety."
And their approach is fundamentally different how?
Constitutional AI is basically about baking the safety directly into the training process. Instead of just fine-tuning after the fact or adding guardrails on top, they're training the model to reason about its own outputs and self-correct based on a set of constitutional principles. It's like giving the model a moral compass during training, not just slapping on safety filters afterward.
But doesn't that slow them down? I mean, OpenAI seems to be shipping updates way faster.
Here's the thing, though. Look at the benchmarks. Opus 4.6 is beating GPT 5.2 on GDP Eval AA by a significant margin. That's real-world financial analysis, legal document review, the kind of stuff that actually moves the needle for enterprises. And they're doing it while maintaining what they claim is the best safety profile in the industry.
So they're trying to prove you don't have to choose between capability and safety.
Exactly. And for platform engineers, this matters because we're increasingly looking at these models not just as code generators, but as actual team members that need to operate autonomously in production environments. The last thing you want is an AI agent that goes rogue and starts making unauthorized changes to your infrastructure.
What about the competition aspect, though? We've got this fascinating dynamic where Anthropic is essentially competing against the company their founders left.
It's like watching a philosophical debate play out through product releases. OpenAI is very much in the move fast and iterate camp, while Anthropic is saying, let's get it right the first time. And honestly, both approaches have merit. OpenAI's rapid deployment has pushed the entire industry forward, but Anthropic's cautious approach might be what we need as these systems become more powerful.
And now with Opus 4.6, they're showing they can compete on raw performance, too.
The real test is going to be adoption. Platform teams are pragmatic. They'll use whatever works best. If Opus 4.6 can deliver on these benchmarks in real-world scenarios without being overly restrictive, it could really shake things up. Coming up, we'll dig into exactly how Opus 4.6 pulled off these performance gains and what that 1 million token context window actually means for your platform engineering workflows. All right, so let's get into the technical meat of what makes Opus 4.6 tick. The headline feature is obviously that 1 million token context window, but there's so much more going on under the hood.
Walk me through what a million tokens actually means in practice, because that sounds impressive, but what can you actually do with it?
So here's the math. 1 million tokens is roughly 750,000 words. That's about 15 average-sized novels. In code terms, that's approximately 50,000 to 75,000 lines of code, depending on your language and formatting. For a platform engineering team, that means you could load your entire Terraform configuration, all your Kubernetes manifests, your CI/CD pipelines, and still have room for documentation.
That's game-changing for code review and refactoring tasks.
Absolutely. But here's where it gets really interesting. They're not just expanding context, they've specifically improved what they call sustained agentic tasks. The model can now maintain coherent execution state over much longer operations. Think about a refactoring job that touches hundreds of files. Previous models would lose track of what they were doing halfway through. Opus 4.6 maintains that execution context. First thing, start with your pain points, not the technology. Where are your engineers spending the most repetitive time? For most platform teams, it's 3 areas. Infrastructure as code generation, debugging complex distributed systems issues, and documentation. Opus 4.6 shows particular strength in all 3.
The million token context window seems perfect for debugging distributed systems.
Exactly. You can literally dump your entire observability stack's output, logs, metrics, traces, and have it analyze patterns across all of them simultaneously. No more context switching between different tools trying to correlate events.
But what about cost? These large context windows can't be cheap.
That's a critical consideration. Anthropic hasn't released detailed pricing for the million token tier yet, but based on industry patterns, you're looking at potentially 3 to 4x the cost of standard context windows. The question becomes, is the productivity gain worth it? For debugging production incidents that could cost thousands per hour, absolutely. For routine code generation, maybe not.
So it's about being strategic about when to use which capability.
Right. Here's my framework. Use the extended context for complex debugging, large-scale refactoring, and comprehensive code reviews. Use standard context for day-to-day coding tasks. And here's a pro tip. You can use Claude 3.5 Sonnet for a lot of routine tasks and save Opus 4.6 for the heavy lifting.
That tiered approach makes sense. What about integration into existing workflows?
This is where platform teams need to think carefully. The co-work feature is compelling because it allows autonomous execution, but you need proper guardrails. I'd recommend starting with read-only operations, analysis, documentation generation, code review. Build confidence before moving to write operations.
And probably start in development environments first.
Absolutely. Here's a specific rollout plan I'd recommend. Week 1, use it for documentation generation and code review. Week 2, add debugging and analysis tasks. Week 3, try infrastructure as code generation and dev. Week 4, evaluate results and decide on production use cases.
What about the competitive landscape? Should teams be worried about lock-in?
Great question. The reality is we're still in the early days of AI-assisted platform engineering. The good news is that most of these models use similar interfaces. If you structure your integration properly, treating the AI as a service behind an abstraction layer, you can swap providers relatively easily.
So avoid deep integration with proprietary features initially.
Exactly. Focus on the core capabilities that are likely to be portable. The one exception might be that million token context window. If you build workflows that depend on it, you might find it hard to switch to a provider without similar capabilities.
What should teams be watching for in the next 6 months?
3 things. First, watch the safety versus capability trade-off. If Anthropic can maintain their lead while keeping their safety guarantees, it validates their approach. Second, pricing models for these extended context windows. That'll determine adoption rates. Third, real-world case studies. We need to see how Opus 4.6 performs outside of benchmarks.
What specific metrics should teams track?
Definitely. Track time to resolution for debugging tasks, first attempt success rate for infrastructure changes, and documentation coverage. But also track near misses, times when the AI suggested something that could have caused problems. That'll help you calibrate your trust level.
This feels like a pivotal moment for the industry.
It really is. We're watching two different philosophies of AI development play out in real time. OpenAI's move fast and iterate versus Anthropic's safety through design. The winner might determine how we build AI systems for the next decade.
And platform engineers are on the front lines of that experiment.
Which is both exciting and a little scary. Here's my closing thought. Opus 4.6 represents a maturation of AI capabilities for platform engineering. We're moving from AI as a coding assistant to AI as a team member. That requires a fundamental shift in how we think about our workflows, our safety procedures, and our team dynamics.
It's not just about the technology, it's about the organizational change.
Exactly. The teams that figure out how to integrate these capabilities thoughtfully, not just jumping on the bandwagon, but really thinking about where AI adds value and where human judgment remains critical, those are the teams that'll have a massive competitive advantage. Because at the end of the day, Opus 4.6 isn't just a better model, it's a glimpse into a future where platform engineering is fundamentally transformed by AI collaboration. Before we wrap up, let's catch up on this week's infrastructure news. There's a fascinating new development in the AI infrastructure space. Anthropic just released a major AI upgrade, but here's the twist. It's happening right as the market is absolutely hammering software stocks. Reuters is reporting that despite the technical advancement, investors seem more focused on broader market concerns.
That timing is brutal. What's in this upgrade that makes it significant for platform engineers?
They're calling it an improved artificial intelligence system, though specifics are still emerging. The real story here might be how AI companies are pushing forward with innovation even as their valuations take hits.
Speaking of AI and operations, Resolve AI just confirmed they've raised $125 million in Series A funding, achieving unicorn status with a billion-dollar valuation. TechCrunch reports they're focusing on AI-powered SRE automation.
Lightspeed Venture Partners led the round, and this is huge for the SRE space. They're essentially building AI that can troubleshoot infrastructure issues automatically.
That's the dream, right? Having AI handle those 3 a.m. pages before they even wake you up.
Now, here's something interesting from the research side. There's a new paper on Archive about depth-guided frameworks for monocular video-human mesh recovery. It addresses metric consistency and temporal stability challenges.
That sounds pretty specialized. How does this relate to platform engineering?
Well, as we're building more AR, VR, and computer vision workloads on our platforms, understanding these computational requirements becomes crucial for capacity planning.
Fair point. Speaking of capacity and scale, the Kubernetes project is actively seeking contributors for Prow, their CI/CD system. This is coming straight from their docs.prow.k8s.io site.
Prow is absolutely critical for Kubernetes automation at scale. If they're publicly calling for help, that suggests they need more hands on deck.
It's also a fantastic opportunity for engineers to contribute to core Kubernetes infrastructure.
And speaking of Kubernetes, there's a new PR that updates the Kube Open API dependency, enabling stricter validation for numeric formats and CRDs. This ensures proper handling of int32, int64, and float formats.
That's the kind of update that prevents a lot of headaches down the line with custom resources.
Now let's talk releases. Pulumi just dropped version 3.219.0 with some really nice features. They've added the ability to set required Pulumi version in pulumi.yaml, support for private packages as local dependencies and components, and here's the big one, they're running analyzer calls in parallel now.
Parallel analyzer calls. That should speed up deployment validation significantly.
They've also added a new Pulumi policy install command, which should make policy management much smoother.
Big news from the Argo project. Argo Workflows 4.0.0 is here. This is a major release with 2,934 new commits from over 1,010 developers.
Major version bump means breaking changes. What should teams watch out for?
They're pointing everyone to their upgrading guide, which is smart. With that many commits, there's bound to be significant changes in APIs or behaviors.
And finally, Cilium 1.19.0 just landed. This is another massive release. They're now at over 23,600 GitHub stars, with contributions from over 1,010 developers.
Here's the important bit. If you're using network policies, cluster mesh, load balancer IPM, or BGP, you'll need to take action during the upgrade.
That's a lot of core networking features that might need attention. Definitely check their upgrade guide before pulling the trigger on this one.
That wraps up today's news.
That's our show for today.
If you found this valuable, please subscribe and share with a friend who'd appreciate it.
Drop us a comment with your thoughts on today's topic.
Links to everything we discussed are in the show notes.
And check out platform-engineering-playbook.com for more resources and guides. Until next time.